Alright guys, don't mind the bangs, but in this episode, we're figuring some more stuff out with the K-Swap CRX. Man, that thing's running pretty good. Perfect. Last time, I got the radiator all mounted in there, and it's working pretty good. In this episode, I do the hydro conversion, which, spoiler, I've already done it. And I think I'm on track to figuring out an intake. Let's go see how I did the hydro conversion. And I'm just gonna recommend right now the Hush Performance Kit. I got the eBay bracket and I thought it would be okay, but it needs to be cut and stuff, and inside the car needs to be cut. So just save yourself the headache, go with the Hush Performance one. Just got the pedal assembly out. It was pretty annoying. One tip that I have is take the steering column out. You have a lot more space you can lay under there better if you take the steering column out. So I did that. Here's my hydro bracket. It is the eBay one. So I'm gonna mount it there. I need to drill out this hole so this bolt will fit through it. It's kind of like a guide bolt. And then this is the main bolt, or I guess that's a stud. And then the nut sits on this. And then what I'm gonna do right here at the end, I'm gonna make a little rod or something, and I'm gonna weld it to this so that it has more support. Or it might not be at the end, I might just weld straight to here to here. But yeah, I just want to support it a little more, make it solid. And yeah, it's already a pretty good chunk of metal, so hopefully it holds up. So I got it all bolted up. I'm waiting to drill that hole until I weld the support, and that way if it moves at all or anything, I just want it to line up perfect. While my clutch line for the hydro is being delivered, I'm gonna work on the fuel system. So right now the fuel system consists of this rubber hose ran with these fuel clamps to AN fittings, this little fuel filter, and then they just clamped onto the original line right here, which is crazy to me. And then it goes back to the original thing right there. I wish they didn't take the fuel filter out, but since they did, I'm gonna have a fitting, an adapter that goes here. I'll probably do a 90 straight off of it so I can run the fuel line around here, and then probably a fuel filter in the same place, or mount it down here or something. It's a 2 fuel rail, and then through the rail, after the rail, just a fuel line from here. Probably run it down and like tuck it out of the way a little bit to the regulator, and then on the bottom of the regulator, I'll just do a fuel line with clamps on it to the return, because that's low pressure. All right guys, just finished my fuel hoses. I have this adapter fitting going to a 90, and then going behind my wiring somewhat, and then over here to the fuel filter. Mounted it on this little mount that, as you can see, I got this worm gear holding it in, worm clamp, and then 90 off of that through the fuel rail to one last hose going to the regulator, going right in the side, and then the last one, so it goes from that blue fitting to the barb end to the return right over here. Now what I don't like is having the fuel like, and then the headers are right there, so if like this fitting cracks or something, it just sprays all over the headers. That's going to be instant fire, so I really don't like that. Might do something in the future about it, I don't know. You guys let me know if you've seen any issues with like having some fittings like that. I'm just always worried about fire hazards, and you can see how close it is. That's how close it is to the headers. So I was changing this mount to the lower setting. If you didn't know, there's an upper one and lower one. I was just moving it to the lower one because I want more clearance up top. And I noticed this. That's how loose. This one, there's a gap and it's loose, it just has tension on it. But this one, I mean, they're finger loose. That's crazy. Here's my reservoir for the clutch fluid. I just added this bracket that I had laying around. I'm gonna paint all this stuff later, but for right now I'm just trying to get it all 100% functional, and then I'll worry about looks. But the cable line is where the hydro cable is gonna go through. You can see right there, that's where the line for the rear windshield washer goes. So that's where the hose goes all the way to the rear. So I just put the hose for the clutch reservoir through that. And yeah, that'll work. And it's angled a little bit down. Maybe that'll help with it feeding to the master, hopefully. The hydro conversion is all done. As you can see, that's where I ran the line to the slave cylinder. Here's my reservoir, and that I showed you how it's ran in. And this line, it barely fit. It's the Amazon one. And it has this fitting on the end. And so I just ran it like that. And mine has a swivel head, luckily. So I faced it that way, and it barely fit, but it did fit. I'm gonna have to zip tie it up above the shifter cables and stuff, but it seems to work. All right, for the intake, I have this AEM one off my 8th gen SI. You can see the AEM filter. And the elbow of it goes right into right here. And from underneath, it goes right there. I'm gonna put the filter on it and get it sitting comfortably where it'll have room, it won't bang right there. And then I'm going to cut it somewhere and add this. This is part of it as well. I'm gonna put it upside down so I can use these two plugs right there for, instead of having filters here, I'll just run them back to the intake, or I'll run a catch can later on, whatever I decide. But that way I have those two for that, and it won't be like one long coupler reaching right here or whatever. It'll have this in between. All right guys, after a bunch of test fitting and stuff, here's my intake. I'm gonna get a black coupler in here. I have it on order, but here it is. Just goes out of the throttle body over here. And then the filter's down here, so it's a cold air intake. I don't really like these style intakes just because of water and stuff and driving when raining, but I'm not really gonna drive this too much when it's raining, so it'll be fine. But yeah, it's kind of like the hybrid racing one design or whatever on the 8th gens, where it just comes over and down. And then I put the breather just to go right to here. That'll give me a little extra hood clearance because that filter was hitting my carbon hood. Spoiler alert, I got a carbon hood. But yeah, I'm really excited with how this came out. I had this intake for like over a year now. Nobody was buying it, so might as well put it to use. I'm also gonna drill a spot for the intake air temperature sensor down here on the bottom, and then that way I can put this little mount to use. Mount that wire right there too, so that works out well. Intake is now 100% in. Got the intake air temperature sensor buttoned up right there. I need to still run this line to this filter. I'll figure that out later, not too worried about that. And I'm gonna have to do something with this, make a little mount or something to hold that still. But it's coming along. In the engine bay is pretty much done. I just need to do the exhaust. So now I actually have to drain the coolant because I don't think it has a thermostat in it. It'll get up to temp, and then when I drive on the main road going like 40, temp will just go down. So I need to check to make sure it has a thermostat, or maybe it's stuck open. So the car does have a thermostat, but it does not fit. That's my issue. I don't know what to do here. So my thermostat housing is a pretty old style. So it doesn't have like the arms that come out to hold the new style thermostats. And then this thermostat, it'll just like go sideways in there. So I'm gonna have to do some research and figure out what I need to do. Well, I read up on it, and there's a groove right there in which a circlip sits to hold the thermostat in. So it's a 58 millimeter one, so you can't just find those locally, I don't think. So I ordered one on Amazon. So when that comes in, I'll throw this back on. I would just put an OEM housing on, which I already have, but it has all these things in it. So I'm just gonna put the thermostat in here and then run it like that. So I got the thermostat in the housing and the thermostat housing back on, and bled the cooling system, and the car is working well. I haven't been able to test drive it yet because carbon hood stuff. Can't drive it without latching the hood down or else it'll just destroy it. Thermostat seems to be working fine. I bled the system. Bubbles stop coming out eventually. Heat works good. Yeah, no real issues with the cooling system now. Now I just got to get to that exhaust. Let me show you what we got for exhaust down here. So headers to that, and then cherry bomb muffler resonator clamped right there, and that's it. It's just open after that. Now what I got for the car is right here. I got some already pre-bent 3-inch piping, and I got this Blox muffler for $60 plus $20 for shipping, $80 for this. I think $210 for that piping, and yeah, it should make a whole lot better exhaust. All right, guys, please make fun of my welds. I tacked it a little bit. Now I'm gonna put it under there, make sure everything clears, and then I can weld that all the way around and work my way back. All right, guys, so this is what I got for the exhaust so far. Here's the flange, and then it goes to a 3-inch right here, and you can see my glorious welds. And yeah, that's where it's going to connect to the axle back in the rear. So I'm going to put this under here now, mock up the hangers, and then weld those on, so it should be free hanging. Then I'll put that rear end piece on and mock up that hanger, use the hanger there, and then I can work on the muffler section. Sorry for not filming so much. This is my first time making an exhaust, really one of my first time welding, so I'm just trying to focus and figure this out. But this is what I have so far. So up there, it's connected to the headers. I did those exhaust hangers, they look beautiful. And it's welded all the way up to this point. That point's going to be welded too, and then this is going to be clamped, so I can unclamp it. So I can unclamp it here, and then this is the muffler section, so like back that part out, and then that whole exhaust will drop out the front, and then this part will drop out of the back. But I'm gonna do a hanger, and I'm gonna put a hanger like bushing up here, and that's where the hanger is gonna go, is up here. That'll be this side hanger, and then on this side I'll just use the stock hanger from the other end of the pipe, and the muffler right here is going to be welded to this, so a hanger on each side should be good enough. And that's basically getting close. I'll just have to weld that section right there, and then clamp this section, weld the muffler section, and then the tailpipe section, and that's it. All right, muffler's going in right now. Got it tacked. I'm gonna weld around, and then I'll put it all back up, and I'll see how it sounds. No exhaust tip yet. As you guys heard in that last clip, the exhaust is done. Ooh, it's almost centered. So this was my first exhaust I ever welded up myself and everything, and buying the pre-bent piping was a big help, though the company forgot the end section, so I had to order that through Amazon. This tip is also an Amazon tip. Now, I have splatter everywhere, don't mind that, but it's the tip welded to this elbow, to the muffler. And I think I did an okay job for my first time. That's aluminized steel, and this is stainless steel. But yeah, it's pretty sturdy in there. Uh-oh. I'll have to see if it hits while driving and maybe put some stiffer bushings on it or something. It is 3-inch all the way to the header, so if I do go turbo in the future, then it's already a 3-inch exhaust. I just have to fabricate the downpipe. And I might have to go turbo sooner than later to keep up with the new project.